Somebody in the chat, we'll go ahead and bring this up because Cajun Razorback was talking about how Andy Staples just tweeted out a clip from a show about the report saying Arkansas receiving room went to the coaching staff and said if Taylen Green didn't leave, they were out. Okay, well, Curtis had put this clip in here. I haven't listened to it, to be honest. I just saw the have you have a chance to listen to it yet, or is this going to be all fresh for all of us?
Well, that's why I muted myself for a minute, but I was listening to that in my left ear and Andrew in my right, so I only caught some of it, but that was essentially said. So I'm anxious to hear it here.
All right, well, let's go ahead and hear what this is from On3 and Andy Staples.
One of the plays you sent us is Arkansas under 5.5 wins, which, look, Sam Pittman is perpetually on the hot seat. Interestingly enough, because I know the Arkansas fans, and I'm sure, Colin, this is a pretty frequent topic of discussion in that cutthroat Arkansas sports radio market.
Yeah.
I think he has to go 4-8 for the buyout to drop to 50% instead of 75. But you only got to go 5-7 for this to cash. That schedule's brutal.
Yes. Yeah, I think the good feelings with Sam Pittman are over for the fan base. It's not for me. Since we see Sam at the beginning of the season and you talk with him off camera and off microphone, he's like the greatest guy in the world. But, he had medical issues last year. He was doing practice from a cart. He's pretty hands off with the team, and he allows his coordinators to do their job. The transfer portal, there was some stuff with Miles Slusher a couple of years ago that really internally was bad. But let's talk about this team, like numbers wise. Project 4.7 on them, a little bit over 56% experience. The wide receiver, I think what people don't know about this team is that the wide receiver unit came to Bobby Petrino and Sam Pittman after the season and said, Taylen Green's got to go or we're out of here. And that might be breaking news to everybody, but this is exactly what happened. Isaiah Satania went to OU. Luke Haas, the tight end, left. He was never getting any balls. He left and went to Ole Miss. Andrew Armstrong declared for the draft, and Isaac Tesla got picked up by the NFL.
So he told on himself right there at the end. You kind of had me for a while. Once you started listing those specific names, whom we know, and we know their decision to enter the portal had nothing. Like Luke has, we talked about his portal a lot. Never at any point where we he went to Taylen Green. And if that were true, I'm not saying we're the best reporters of all time. Somebody would have heard about that. That did not happen.
Who is that guy?
I don't even know. I think it's let's see. I can probably find out who. Is it Colin? Is that the guy's name? Colin Wilson, I believe.
Okay. I had to look into that some, but that's that's interesting.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah, it's Colin Wilson of Action Network. He is also he has a hashtag WPS in his Twitter profile, so he's an Arkansas guy. They're just throwing it. Okay. I don't know. I haven't heard of that guy. So anyways,
he cited Andrew Armstrong declaring for the draft as like a Taylen Green thing. Andrew Armstrong played 9 years of college football. Like he was going to go to the draft.
He was done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Half the guys he mentioned were done there. The Satania has, who else left? Desmond James, Davion Dozier, but it's like guys who weren't playing.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. It's like, it's funny because I'm like, what receivers return? Like Jordan Anthony went in there and was like, I'm sticking a track if Taylen Green, what Arkansas receivers returning had the leverage to say anything? I don't know why he would go on a national platform and say that.
I don't either, dude. Yeah, I don't either, because for the reasons you guys mentioned too, but I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that there wasn't times where Taylen Green made mistakes. I was talking to somebody the other day just about the deal with I think it was against LSU or Tennessee, whenever it was like Isaac Tesla was just sitting in the end zone by himself, deep, like stuff like that. He obviously made mistakes, but I have a hard time believing that all these wide receivers, especially the ones that were leaving anyways, be like, I'm leaving because I have to, but also I'd leave anyways because Taylen Green. I just don't know if I buy that element to it, but there is something to be said about, the wide receiver room and how you're having to change it all up. And also too, guys, as we know, last year going into last season, the wide receiver room was all retained, which was almost like a surprise because you had a whole new offense coordinator, you had a new wide receiver coach, you had the portal that was open. They could have done whatever they wanted to do, but all the wide receivers stayed. They wanted to be there. And obviously Armstrong had a great season and everything. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I buy all of that, but at the same time, there's no telling what people say and being sour grapes about anything these days.
Yeah, I get the hunch here that, I'm sure there are times where every receiver is frustrated with their quarterback. Just like I promise you, there were times where Taylen Green was frustrated with some of his receivers. With the lack of separation, the drops, there's that stuff works both ways. But everybody has their own individual reasons for doing the things that they do. And I have a really hard time believing that all the pass catchers just, huddled up and they stormed the facility to Bobby Petrino and they're like, he's out or we're out. And then they're like, you're out. So I don't know, man.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like the truth is always somewhere in the middle. Like I'm sure, and like to your point, like if we want to have the conversation of like, hey, is Taylen Green even good at football? Is it great playing for him, for being a wide receiver, with him as your quarterback? I'm sure there's plenty of frustration there, just because we've talked about Taylen Green, we can have that whole conversation. So it's not one of those things where it's like they either had a mutiny or everyone loves playing for Taylen Green. Like there could be a ton of frustration. There could be a ton of guys who maybe secretly don't love playing with Taylen Green. Like, you could sell me on that. The idea that they went into the coach's office and were like, it's him or us. Like, come on, you lost me. You lost me there. Right there at the end, you lost me.
Well, the beauty of this is that now that question is almost assuredly going to get asked. It won't be until fall camp, but the first time Pittman's available and then the first time Bobby's available, it's going to be like, yo, did this happen? So,
And I'm sure
they'll just like call it absurd or whatever, but wouldn't it be funny if Bobby was like, yeah, man,
well,
it's crazy.
I see everyone in the chat being like, well, Taylen is pretty inaccurate. He is. And this is why misinformation is dangerous because you have someone say something, what I'm going to declare as false. And now you have a bunch of people viewing in this situation completely differently. And now you have a fan base over here that's like, you know what? Taylen actually does kind of suck. And it's like we're having a conversation that we just did not need to have. And we can't have it if you want, but it's like, we can agree that Taylen Green has his deficiencies. The wide receiver room did not have a mutiny where they all left because of him. Let's just keep it 100.
Yeah. Well, even the situation with like an Isaiah Satania, I look at it as like, okay, so you're telling me that he's like, I'm out, or if you have to get rid of Taylen Green, but he's like, you know what? But I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to Oklahoma and I'm going to go to a place where there's not really any quarterbacks that really know what's going on there. Like, I'm just going to go there and make that happen. Like, I just have a hard time believing that Oklahoma was the answer, like where they have their own issues, stuff like that. So either way, it's just stuff that gets thrown against the wall, see what sticks. But
yeah, I would say, where'd it go? Raw Hog says probably the only mistake was him saying it was the entire wide receiver room. Yeah. Like, could you sell me on one guy just walking in and being like, hey, this, or even two guys, just saying, look, man, like I just feel like he's not seeing me, or like what's the plan here? Nah, I don't think this is for me. Maybe, yeah. But the mutiny thing, Andrew, like you were saying, I don't know, man. And I don't know this gentleman who said that and like his sources and everything. So I just want to be like, this guy's an idiot. I'm not saying that at all. I have no idea who he talked to, who he heard that from. But I'm sure there was probably some context there that needs to be provided that maybe he will, the next time he's interviewed by those guys or something.
This is the game of telephone here. I absolutely think there's, especially because like when the players that he listed off, like a lot of them we can check off, like Andrew Armstrong, obviously not one of those guys. Isaac Tesla, obviously not one of those guys. Luke we know a lot about his situation and how that all went down. Taylen Green's name was not involved. Luke was not protesting Taylen Green when he left, and that's a whole separate situation. Satania is the one name that I don't have anything to say for, where I'm like, no, there's no way he didn't leave because of Taylen Green. But yeah, that's kind of where I said, like, he had me up until the very, very end when he started throwing those other names where I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fascinating approach. But who am I to say about what certain people have heard inside the programs and talking about them and relaying messages to the masses? Who am I to even discuss something like that? But
we've lost the plot on the chat, by the way. Like, it's completely that video was a lightning rod, bro. We have completely lost the chat.
Well, then I also see it's rolling in so quick that I'm losing my place. James said, what did he say after that stopping point? We don't know because we're live right now. And that was just the clip that they put out. But like I said, I mean, maybe there's more context at the end there or something. I don't know, but he said what he said. I mean, the words came out of his mouth that we played there. So what happened after that, I don't know at this time.
Well, context is important, and hopefully they provide some, because sometimes you idiots just always take things out of context.
Yeah, and sometimes you just hear words and you take them for what they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone has an action and there's a reaction that makes sense to it, and then
sometimes it's the newest
provide context, and then it still is taken out of context. Sometimes it's hard to do that.
That
sometimes.
Does happen too. Yeah.
It is one of those things. It's the newest thing that everyone has to deal with, I guess, nowadays. So, but interesting clip there from that. Let's see. We got a few of your chats too. Student section says, after seeing how Tesla was treated in game and never getting targets, I don't blame these receivers for wanting a new guy.
I think student section is obviously like
trolling.
You're making a joke a little bit. He's one of our resident. He's one of our merry pranksters in the chat. Yeah. But no, and that's what's funny about it is like him saying that now we're having this conversation, and so now it's like a thing of like, so y'all are saying Taylen Green's good? It's like, no, that's not even what we're saying. Like we've lost it.
Well, I do, and we're gonna forever be able to have that Isaac Tesla hindsight conversation after what happened at the combine and the draft for him. It is always going to be, like a black eye on whoever you want to put it on, Taylen or Sam Pittman or like whoever. It's like, oh, you had this guy who was clearly NFL franchise. Look at the Lions; they're one of the best franchises in the league, and you couldn't get him the ball, and you didn't identify his talent. You started Broden over him. So it's just like another notch in the belt for anyone who wants to hate about it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Taylen Green didn't make the depth chart, man.
Exactly, man.
Yeah. Not only that, but
you didn't put him in the slot either. So.
And I'm not saying and trying to make this comparison, but people are going to take it. But it's still like there's great head coaches in college football that have either had a phenomenal player on their roster, either didn't know what to do with them, or they transferred out. You didn't have them, whatever it is. I mean, it happens. Like you have guys like Kyler Murray was on Texas A&M, Baker Mayfield, someone like that. Not trying to compare, but I'm just saying even great coaches sometimes have players where they just go on to have great pro careers or end up flourishing a lot more after college. It doesn't mean that, he's like, wow. People think about Cliff Kingsbury. How could he not play Baker Mayfield at Texas Tech? It's like, well, sometimes things happen. Like it just, great coaches sometimes have those players that move on and go elsewhere. It's just the way it is. So, but don't tell that to anybody else. And that
was interesting though.
It was very interesting.
We needed that on this Monday.
We definitely needed it for sure. That was good stuff.